Here I'm fitting the bearing retainers.
Looks like everything's pretty much 10 newtons in here.
Right, welcome back to this next series of clips of this little engine rebuild where I start to put some of the things back into the outer cases. Here I've just put the retaining clips in, and this is the alternator rotor and the starter motor, or the starter ring, outer ring. And it just drops on this shaft. There's a little keyway first, a little woodruff key. Oh, and don't forget to put the timing chain in first before you put this on. And there's a flat washer here with a curved edge. You always put the flat side down. And this is the starter ring and shaft. Basically just slide the small gear onto the bigger one and then just drop the shaft in to locate it, and then there's a little spacer.
Right, I don't have the special tool for tightening this on, so what I did was just use this clamp, clamped it up as tight as I could get it, and then just put it on like that.
Alternatively, you can use an old flat belt, like an old auxiliary belt, or even a regular belt to hold it like this.
Neutral switch, so the bike knows it's in neutral. Now you need to make sure that that little pin is lined up with that groove. Do that. Right. So if it doesn't go straight in, you know, if it's like that, it'll rock on the pin. So if it pops straight in, you know you're okay. Now these don't need to be crazy tight because there's an O-ring, so. But I guess because I have it here, I may as well torque them. Right, let's have a look at this side then. This is the primary drive gear. Just need to get this little woodruff key in. There it goes. And that locates the key in the slot. Now you'll notice there's a dot on that wheel. That will be important later. Again, there's a rounded side and a flat side. You put the flat side in and pop the nut on. Right, we'll do that finger tight for now, and we'll do it when we've got both gears on, because then we can lock it easy. Okay, next one. I'm following a list here in the book, if you're wondering what I'm doing. I think it's going to be easier to put this one on first, if I remember right. And I've taped all this together so that I would remember how it went. So watch me drop it now. Okay, looks like it's the spring, the washer, and then the nut. I can't remember if it was this one that needs third locking, but I think that just sits in there like that. Right, now I've got to bend that up like that. Put the shop towel there again, in case one of these little pins falls out. Actually, I'm going to pop them in by hand. That one goes in there. That one goes in there. Now I've got to lift that out of the way. Haha, I can't do that. Okay, that's interesting. Right, and then pop that on there, on the two pins. Okay, then that back in there. And that indentation is the neutral from what I remember. Okay. Looks like I need some more of this. Okay, put that in there. put it down. If you haven't got one of these T-bars, I'd highly recommend you get one. I'm quite new to it, but I have to admit I'm finding it extremely useful. Here. Okay, let's have a look what's next. In the book you'll always find the torque settings at the beginning of each chapter after all the specifications. Gear change cam, gear change stopper 12, so they're slightly more than the other ones. I wonder if that's because it's steel. 12, a couple of turns. Right, well this one I imagine is quite simple. That one is just going to turn, so I'll stick my copper in there. Right, this is the thing that when it dropped out earlier, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the video, but this thrush washer just appeared as if from nowhere. Right, this has got to go through here, and it's got to go through the thing the other side, so I want plenty of oil on this so it doesn't push that seal out the other side. Okay. Right, I need more clearance, so I'll just set this, stand it up a bit. Right, and then you push it through. And it locates on that pin there. You'll see the spring. And that locates there. Now I'll just pop the oil pump back on. That's 2 bolts, 12. Again, I clipped them so I knew which order they were in. It's going to be interesting. That's got to be like that, and then I've got to turn that. That's it. And then there's a key to go in there, like that.
Right, now just here there are 2 dots on these gears, so you need to make sure that they are exactly opposite each other when they are closest together.
And that's the next one. There's some writing on that. Nearly always the writing goes outwards. I might be wrong on that. Okay, and you've got the clutch assembly. It's probably easier to take that and pop that in there and then slide it down. Again, flat-sided washer. Probably 74. So that's the clutch. Centre bolt 74, and the balancer shaft. Balancer shaft gear lock nut 64. So that's 64, 74. When you take this out, always make sure it hasn't chewed a bit off and left it in the bottom there for you. Right, and then it's the oil spinner and the washer, and that silly nut again. That's 64 as well. Need a gasket for that, which is inside, and then that pops on there. Right, don't laugh. So I decided to make a tool. I've done it with the impact wrench, but I don't really want to leave it like that, because if you haven't got an impact wrench, then that's not going to be very good for you, is it? So I tried to find a bit of metal. I thought, well, I'll weld something up, but then I thought, no, it's better if I can do it without a welder. So basically I just lined up those bolts and made marks, one in the middle for the big one each side, and then the same the other way. Da-da-dum. So I need to drill a hole in the middle big enough to get the socket through, and 4 smaller ones just to get the bolts through. It's only a bit of plastic. It's a bit of IKEA kicking board actually, but it's pretty rigid, so I think it will hold. Okay, I'll go and drill those holes and I'll come back in a sec. There'll be some engineers out there laughing at this. It's kind of the point of these videos, is to do stuff at home without the proper tools. Right, this was 74, wasn't it? Biggest problem is going to be is holding the engine, because you can't hold the engine and the torque wrench and this at the same time. So what I'm going to do is go at a narrow angle like this. If you try and do it like this, it's going to be hard. But if I do it at a narrow angle like this, I might be able to hold it. See, now that's interesting. So that means that when I did it with the impact, it was over torque. Okay, well that's a lesson learned, isn't it? Torque it properly this time. Okay, 74 instead of 100 or whatever it was. So I hope that just kind of shows you that sometimes you have to make special tools and you have to be a bit ingenious. And it's all about going online and looking at what the proper tool's supposed to be and having to think, well, is there any way I can replicate that, copy it out of something that doesn't cost 60 quid. So yeah, that's it. Just make sure there's no bits of plastic in there. There you go. Very, very crude lever to tighten your nuts. Okay, time for a coffee break. Jesus. Pop this clutch bearing on, thrust bearing. I think I've cleaned this already, yeah. Don't think it matters which way it goes on. Yeah, it's just to press against the other thing, isn't it? Okay, so it doesn't matter which way it goes on. The springs look to be the same both ways. I've measured these because there's a set minimum length. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be anything other on this engine. It's too new. So put a tiny bit of pressure on this. Another thing I like about this T-bar thing is it's almost impossible to cross-thread anything with this, I would say. It's almost like just putting them in with your fingers. But sometimes with a big wrench, yeah, you could in theory. But here you're just twizzling it down like that. There's no way they're cross-threaded, you see, because you're not putting any great weight on it. So you just tighten these down, crisscrossing until it's all the way down. It's just to compress the springs. Clutch spring bolts 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still spins. Right, thanks for watching, and if you found that useful or interesting, you know what to do. See you in the next one.